What's good, everybody? I'm Saint, and I'm gonna break down the Baltimore Ravens versus the Las Vegas Raiders tonight. Yo, so I appreciate you if you clicked on the video. I do appreciate you sincerely. I'm new to this, but I've always wanted to, break down football games or in sports like that. And I'm a big time Ravens fan, so I felt like might as well just start recording. I hope to have a bigger setup, better setup one day. But for right now, we just got the iPhone, so I hope you vibe with me. I know people be like, "Oh man, it's just a black screen." Hey, listen. I'm gonna learn how to do all that fancy stuff in the future, hopefully. But so the Ravens lost tonight. Not really happy about it. Lamar is a stud in primetime games. I definitely thought he was gonna come out there and win the game. A couple things on the game, man. So that's what we're gonna do. I'm gonna break down the game for you. Now I'm not finna throw a whole bunch of stats and stuff at you every time I'm breaking down the games. If I'm fortunate enough to be able to break down multiple games this season, but I am gonna point out stats that matter here and there. So the first stat you need to know is that Derek Carr threw for 435 yards. So let that simmer in your head real fast. 435. That's what my boy Derek Carr. Now I like Derek Carr. I'm gonna just go ahead and tell you straight up. I like Derek Carr. I might love Derek Carr. I done liked him since the draft. I thought him falling that far in the draft was stupid. I kept telling people he gonna be the best quarterback in that draft. I know some people say John Gruden don't like him and whatnot, but I don't know. I think Derek Carr definitely had up and down seasons, but I think Derek Carr is a franchise quarterback. And I just think if the Raiders let this dude walk or don't re-sign him, it's just going to be absolutely idiotic. However, back to the game. So Derek Carr, the big stat in my opinion tonight for the Raiders was Derek Carr. He was absolutely unbelievable. 435, bro. Like he did get picked off in the end zone in overtime. I'll talk about that in a second. But for the most part, Derek Carr was absolutely phenomenal tonight. And it also helped that the Ravens only pressured him. I saw 20% of his dropbacks he was pressured. Like, if you watched the game, you would have saw he barely got pressured at all unless they called an all-out blitz, into which case they rarely got there most of the time. And the Ravens rookie away, if I know I probably just jacked that name, but I think he's gonna be a stud. He had a sack. It was a dope sack too, because it was one of those hustle sacks where he didn't get him on the first attempt, but he kept chasing after him, and then he eventually brought him down. So that was dope. But for the most part, there was no pressure on Derek Carr most of the night. And the problem was, even without the pressure on Derek Carr, like they didn't even have to have crazy pressure on him all night, because he wasn't even like dicing him up at first. The biggest problem was he was dicing him up on third downs. Like, I don't have the stats in front of me right now, and that's my apology. I'm gonna start having the stats with me from here on out. But because I saw the entire game, I literally remember every play that happened. But Derek Carr on third down was absolutely phenomenal tonight. Like, I guarantee you, if you go look at the stats, it's gonna tell you that Derek Carr was absolutely inhuman on third downs tonight. And the Ravens defense just kept giving up stupid play after stupid play on third downs. Like, it was third and longs that they was giving up plays on. And so that was rough, because I think the best quarterbacks come through on third downs. And Derek Carr came through on third downs all night. I'm not here to argue if you think Derek Carr is a great quarterback, bad quarterback, average quarterback. I don't care how you feel about Derek Carr. I'm just telling you how I feel about Derek Carr. You free to have your opinions on Derek Carr. Shit, drop them in the comments on how you feel about Derek Carr. However, getting to the Ravens side of things, the Ravens went up 14-0 in this game at one point in time. Think about that for a second. Simmer on it. The Ravens went up 14-0 at one point in this game. And the problem that I had was, as soon as they went up 14-0, if you're a Raven fan like me and you go back and look through the history of Baltimore in big games, go look at what happens to Baltimore when they take big leads. Go look at what their defense immediately does ever since we've lost Terrell Suggs, Ray Lewis, Ed Reed. Look at what our defense does when we take big leads against teams. We immediately let the other team march down the field. Against the Titans last year, we took a big lead against them in the regular season, immediately let them march down the field and score, which gives teams momentum when you let them do stuff like that. So that really bothered me, that they immediately, like, what does it matter if your defense is holding in the beginning of the game when neither team is scoring, but when it matters the most, they start to fold and break constantly. See, that's why I always said that the Chiefs have one of the better defenses in the NFL, because the Chiefs are not a great defense in the regular season. But when they matter the most, like in situations when it matters the most, the Chiefs defense is legendary. They consistently get it done when it matters the most. Like you can go watch so many moments of the Chiefs defense being average, and then go look at plays when it matters the most. The Chiefs defense come through. And to me, that's what mattered the most. It don't matter what you're doing, stat stuffing and all that type of stuff throughout a game where both teams struggle and stuff like that. Like, it do matter to an extent, but you make your money in the key situations, in the clutch moments when they need you most, when they need you to make a play. They paid you for this exact reason. You don't make a play. And that's the Ravens defense too many times, bro. They let teams get momentum. They do goofy things, penalties, all these bad things. Like, it was a play. Now, I will say this. It was a play where the Ravens got to stop on third down. And Tavon Young got called for a pass interference. Now, Tavon Young hasn't played in 2 years. He hasn't really played a full season since he's been drafted because he's been hurt every year. He get hurt every year. So Tavon Young, when he was healthy and playing originally, he was one of the better nickel corners in the game. I cannot say, even though I'm a big Baltimore fan, I can't say that Tavon Young is a top 5 nickel corner in the game right now when he haven't played a full season since he's been drafted. That's just, to me, foolish to say. And the announcers kept saying that on the game, and I think saying stuff like that is really misleading. And it don't, like, when people only listen to the game and they take all their information from the game, and God bless you if all your information is coming from Steve Levy, bro. But God bless you. But I think when you say stuff like that, bro, it make people think the wrong type of things. Tavon Young is not a top 5 corner in the game, slot corner in the game right now. Like, he probably was at one point in time, but you cannot say he is now through all these injuries and not proving that at the moment. So it was a play in the game where on third down, they got to stop. Tavon Young got to stop in the middle of the field on a play, on an all-out blitz where they threw it. Now, it was a pass interference call, but I don't think that was a pass interference. Like, I done watched that play a couple times. Tavon Young jumped over the top of him to try to get the ball to pick it off at that moment. How can, like, Tavon Young should have a right to that ball. So I didn't agree with that pass interference in the Ravens. But aside from that, most of the Ravens stops on third down that they didn't get was on them. Like, just atrocious coverage on some plays, mental breakdowns. I cannot tell you how many missed tackles we saw tonight. Like, it was bad. The one thing I will say, and I knew this was gonna happen when you lose Marcus Peters. When you lose somebody like I knew the J.K. Dobbins, Gus Edwards things. Well, let me say this. To me, when Gus Edwards went down, I said that is a bigger injury than J.K. Dobbins. And when Marcus Peters went down, I said that is a bigger injury than both of those two going down, him and JK. Not because I think JK bad or nothing like that, but we've been good without JK. So I can't sit here and say, oh, they're going to be bad without JK. I don't know what JK was going to be this year, to be completely honest with you. And I've seen us be great without him. So what I do know is every year we've been great with Lamar, Gus Edwards was a dude who eats up 4th and short, 3rd and short. Gus Edwards, how many times have we seen Gus Edwards pick up multiple yards when he only needed 1 or 2 yards? Like, the Gus bus is a real thing, and he was missed tonight. It was a play on before the half. It was like 2 minutes before the half or something like that. And you can go look. That's not the right time, but it was approaching the end of the first half. And the Ravens had a 4th and 1. They had to stop the play for a second, which also hurt because Tariq Phillips went down, one of our tackles or guards. I could be getting that wrong right now. I apologize. I believe that's our left tackle, though. He went down. We paused for a little second, then we got back up to the line, and I thought, based on what the coverage was, I thought they was going to run it to the right with Lamar in space and let him try to pick up that 1 yard. Instead, they handed it to Murray. And immediately, and I can't really even blame Murray because the offensive line let Bruss shoot through the line immediately. I can't even remember the player who shot through the line, but it was a player who shot through the line immediately upon handing the ball off. So I can't even blame Murray for that, to be completely honest with you. But I do think that play call should have been a rollout for Lamar to, like, because in a play like that, and I don't want to question John Harbaugh. I love John Harbaugh. I think John Harbaugh is a phenomenal coach. It's Greg Roman who I question. Like, and I think Greg Roman called a good game for the most part. But here's my problem. In a 4th and 1, like, bro, you could easily, with how good the Ravens run, you could easily run a rollout play action play, have somebody running a crosser or a shallow crosser to just have options, but let Lamar try to pick that easy first down, that 1 yard up with his legs. Like, I think that should have been the play call. But, of course, I'm not there. I'm not the NFL offensive coordinator. So who knows? I just think that would have been a better play call than what they called. But obviously, that play call that they called could have worked if the offensive line blocked better. Which brings me to the next point. The offensive line for Baltimore was atrocious. Like, bro, if you go look at the game, and I watched the whole game, like I said, the Raiders' offensive line looked magnificent. This is a team that traded away or got rid of, I think, every single one of their stud starters on the offensive line except for Richie Incognito, and he didn't even play this game. And that offensive line gave Derek Carr so much time in the pocket to make plays. Like, you cannot ask a defense to hold that long. And I'm going to tell you how I know that started to take a toll on the secondary. So, and I love Calais Campbell. I love Justin Houston. I love all those dudes. But maybe age is what's starting to not allow them to have that engine to go every down like a Aaron Donald, like a Chandler Jones, like a TJ Watt. I really think Baltimore is in a situation where they have to pray that Away is the next Terrell Suggs, because they are sorely missing a legitimate pass rusher who can beat any type of double team, single coverage. They are in desperate need of one, because if you look at this game tonight, Baltimore's defensive line got held up and stuffed and pancaked so many times. Like, the Raiders' offensive line looked like a line full of straight Hall of Famers, bro. Like, it looked like every single one of them dudes is probably leading at their position in the Pro Bowl votes at this moment after 1 week. That's how great they look. Like, Derek Carr rarely got, like I said early in the video, he only got pressure like about 20% of the time on his drops, which is absolutely magnificent. And when you give a quarterback like Derek Carr time to just pick you apart, it's backyard football. And in the beginning of the game, the pressure wasn't getting there either, but the Ravens secondary is so good that they can still make plays and stop teams even when you don't bring pressure. But that's the thing. Eventually, you tire out when you have to just run around for 4, 5, 6 seconds and not have somebody get to Derek Carr. And when you have to, and when the only way you can get pressure on a quarterback is to run all-out blitzes, oh, you're not winning. It's no shot. Because you cannot ask cornerbacks to consistently have to guard guys on all-out blitzes. You cannot consistently call all-out blitzes. So when you don't have a dude who can beat his coverage one-on-one every time, or single coverage, or in double coverage, still get to the quarterback and pressure him, you got a problem. And the Baltimore Ravens haven't had that since Terrell Suggs. Like, Matthew Judon was close, but even he wasn't nearly what Terrell Suggs was. I would say the dude who was the closest to that might be the guy we let walk and go to the Packers. And I don't know why his name is slipping me at this moment. And man, that is ugly that I cannot think of his name at the moment. And I wish I had a sheet to pull up. I wish I could pull up his name right now, but I don't even have a laptop in front of me. But you guys know who I'm talking about. The stud pass rusher for the Packers, who was a Baltimore Raven. I still remember him getting a sack and doing the money dance after he got the sack. But and even when he was in Baltimore, he wasn't nearly what Terrell Suggs was for. So I think Baltimore really has to find a way to either hope that Away he becomes the stud that Terrell Suggs was, or we got to do some finding when it comes to the pass rusher. Because I think if you look back at Baltimore over the last couple seasons, a lot of their issues can be summed up to, they do not put consistent pressure on quarterbacks. They let quarterbacks stand back and dissect them. And the only reason it doesn't absolutely kill them most of the time is because you have a Marcus Peters. You have a Marlon Humphreys. But even last year, you could see in games where they would not put pressure on the quarterback, Marcus Peters would look exposed. And not even Marcus Peters as much as Marlon Humphreys would get lost in coverage sometimes. And it wasn't even him getting lost. It was because he had to defend so long. He was tiring out having to do multiple things and having to run so long. And I think Marcus Peters is the second. Not Marcus Peters. I think Marlon Humphreys tonight showed that he is the second best cornerback in football in multiple ways. But I also think it showed, Jalen Ramsey showed Sunday night, is Whatever they say that thing is, 80% of the earth is covered by water. The other 20% is Jalen Ramsey. That is a fact. Jalen Ramsey is unbelievable. And I believe that he and Richard Sherman do not get enough credit for the fact that they talk trash. They came out and told you they was the best. They shitted on multiple quarterbacks and backed it up. Backed it up tenfold. Like, Richard Sherman in his prime was ungodly. I still remember watching games, bro. Go back and watch Seattle play the Packers on Monday Night Football, the Fail Mary. Before that Fail Mary happened, go look at how much Richard Sherman was shutting down that whole side of the field. Aaron Rodgers basically refused. Aaron Rodgers, probably the most talented quarter thrower of the football we have ever seen. Aaron Rodgers would not throw it to Richard Sherman. That's how disgusting Richard Sherman was. And he was telling you he was the best cornerback in the league and backing it up. And we always shit on people. Well, I don't, but maybe I do sometimes. A lot of people shit on, and I know you guys don't do it either, but a lot of us shit on players for talking shit and not being able to back it up. Richard Sherman and Jalen Ramsey talked cold cash trash and backed it up, bro. It's not a better cornerback in the NFL than Jalen Ramsey. But Marlon Humphrey did prove tonight that he is on another level. The fact that you can take Marlon Humphreys and move him to the left side outside, the right outside, in the slot on either side. I mean, it's ungodly. Like, Alabama is legitimately a breeding factory for Pro Bowl players, bro. And I got a lot of faith in Averett that he gonna eventually be a better player, because he an Alabama player too. A lot of things with young cornerbacks, because Averett's still a young cornerback. They sometimes I think they give away too much space on certain play. Like, I think it's a thing of some cornerbacks that excel quickly is because mentally they are just so intelligent. Like, they know what you want to call, they know what you about to run. Because I know we all done seen plays multiple times where we see like a play and we like, yo, they giving this dude way too much space. And when a play is called, we see that cost him because they gave him too much space playing off in coverage. I think that's a big reason. That's what separates great cornerbacks. You see Jalen Ramsey know when to give space, when not to give space, and things like that. So I think Marlon Humphrey is the second best cornerback in the NFL. I think he proved that tonight. But it was just so hard to have to cover guys for so long when your pass rush don't get home. And that's why you signed Justin Houston, because you like, yo, Justin Houston going to give us that pass rush, but he didn't. And so you got to pray. We praying that away he end up being that dude. But, man, you just can't. You have to find a way. And Baltimore is phenomenal at drafting guys, but they haven't been phenomenal in the recent years at getting that replacement for Terrell Suggs, which I still don't think they have found. But like I said, let's just pray and hope that away he is that guy. The next thing in the game. So I know everybody been waiting. What Lamar do? What Lamar do? What Lamar do? Lamar threw for 235 yards, if I'm not mistaken, 285 or 235. I'm pretty sure it's either in between that range or one of those two numbers. So Lamar looked great to me. And I'm not being biased. Lamar to me looked phenomenal at most points in the game. But the problem was, I still think Greg Roman even though I think Greg Roman called a good game, I think he could have called a better game. Like, I talked about that 4th and 1 earlier, but it was also plays where I think Greg Roman just too many times has too many receivers running either the same route or running or where their routes break off in the same area of the field. That's just gotta stop happening. But I did see improvements with it, because you see them running different plays with Marquise Brown. Marquise Brown should be getting used like Tyreek Hill. I mean, it just is what it is. It makes no sense that you are not calling the same plays for Tyreek Hill that you would be calling for Marquise Brown, or vice versa. So, and I don't understand, as many times as we done lost to the Chiefs, you would think Greg Roman would take a little bit from that playbook that he done got beaten by so many times. But I guess not. Actually, opposite. I guess he has started to, because tonight Marquise Brown has some great routes. Sammy Watkins looked phenomenal also. He dropped a catch that I guess you could say either was too low or yada, yada, yada. And he almost tipped the ball that turned into an interception. Other than that, though, he made a big catch in the fourth quarter when Lamar aired it out down the field. I think it was like a 30-something yard catch over the shoulder. Absolute beautiful throw by Lamar. Absolute beautiful catch by Sammy. I wish he had went to the outside right and tried to score that instead of running into the defender, because he went into the defender like left. He turned in left to make contact with the defender instead of trying to go out right and score where it was nobody at. I think if he had it, now, I mean, I could be wrong, but just from my vantage point, from what I was seeing, I thought he could have peeled that off to the right and scored, or at least got hella close to scoring. But, I mean, and he didn't. But this is the problem. So the defense had been struggling the entire second half, right? But the offense have to play some type of part in giving up a 14-0 lead. And even though the defense immediately, and this is one of the things I hate to do to offenses in general. When an offense gives you a 14-0 lead and you immediately give up 7 points after they score that 14th point, I hate it when you have to, because an offense have to immediately go back out there and score now to reclaim that 14-point lead. And if you don't, the pressure is immediately back on the offense because they didn't score. And now the momentum is went to that opposing offense, even though they were just down 14, but the defense just gave up another. And I'm pretty sure if you're a fan of other teams, you know that all too well. And if you're a fan of other teams, thank you for listening. I'm going to try to break down other teams that I like players that I like in the future, except for the Cleveland Browns, because I am not a Baker Mayfield fan. I'm just going to get that out the way already. I will even break down Pittsburgh because of my respect for the Pittsburgh Steelers. And I like Joe Burrow. I'm not going to lie. I like Joe Burrow. And at the moment, the Bengals are not an intimidating team. Like, I think the Bengals are going to be absolute problems. Like, I'm just be honest with you. I think they're going to be a problem. But I still think the Baltimore Ravens can be the best team in this division because I think Lamar Jackson is the best player in this division. But it's just, it feels like too many times it's Baltimore versus Lamar Jackson versus Baltimore. Because going back into the game, in the second half, like I said, I hate it when that happened to an offense because I don't feel like that's unnecessary pressure. They just gave you a 14-point lead and you immediately give up a touchdown. Like that's like all that hard work going to waste, bro. I swear to you. And it's even worse when it don't even take the team a long time to get down the field and score. And too many times that happened with the Ravens. And so you get to the third quarter, the only score was a Justin Tucker field goal. Cool. That means both defenses did their job, or both offense didn't do their job. You can look at it either way. However, you go into the fourth quarter, and the Ravens defense just went to shambles. I mean, Jesus Christ, bro, go look. So, matter of fact, I'm gonna just wait to talk about that part, bro. The Ravens defense in the fourth quarter was just. It was sad. I think they started off the fourth quarter with a stop, if I'm not mistaken. They started off the fourth quarter with a stop. There would not be another stop from that point on until overtime, on what was an absolute wild sequence that I'm going to get to in a minute. The fourth quarter, Derek Carr went nuts with Darren Waller. And this, like I said, I want to be careful in just saying that the defense got toasted and the secondary got toasted, because you got to think about it. The Ravens don't have Marcus Peters, who is a top 5 cornerback in the NFL, and they don't have Jimmy Smith. Jimmy Smith is one of the better cornerbacks in the NFL. I think he's about 6'3", 6'4". He is a phenomenal press man cover corner. He can play zone. He can play the safety positions. The only problem Jimmy Smith has is health. That's legitimately the only problem. If he would have stayed healthy the majority of his career, Jimmy Smith would be a perennial Pro Bowl cornerback. Go look at the tapes. I'm not even capping with you on this. Jimmy Smith is my favorite Baltimore Raven. Jimmy Smith is just on another level when he's zoned in, for one. Like, I didn't watch Jimmy Smith shut down Antonio Brown in multiple games. Like, Jimmy Smith in his prime, when he's on, it makes no sense how good he is. And go look at most of the history of Jimmy Smith on our defense. When he plays, we're unbelievable. When he doesn't, we're absolutely god-awful. And it just is what it is. I can bring up so many instances where we lose Jimmy Smith and our just defense just goes to absolute shit. And when we have him, we look like the best defense walking the earth. So Jimmy Smith, to me, is just one of the most underrated defensive players of his era. But he hasn't been able to stay healthy, so I get it. However, Jimmy Smith and Marcus Peters not playing. Obviously, Marcus Peters out for the season with an ACL tear. Prayers up for the Juice, man, bro. That's a horrific injury. It's going to hurt not seeing 24 out there, bro. I've been a fan of Marcus Peters since he was with the Chiefs, bro. I'm going to tell you what's crazy. It's been a couple of players that done came to the Ravens who I did not ever expect would come to the Ravens, but I wanted them to come to the Ravens because I was such big fans of them. Eric Weddle was number one. Because Eric Weddle is like my second favorite safety all time. Ed Reed is my favorite player all time. Eric Weddle is probably one of my top 5 favorite safeties all time. Like, I absolutely love Eric Weddle. And him coming to Baltimore, his time in Baltimore just solidified it. Bro. So that's the thing with Eric Weddle. But when, and I'm kind of losing train of thought because I'm lighting this right here, but it's certain players that I wanted to come to Baltimore that I never thought would come there, and Eric Weddle was number one, but Marcus Peters was one of them. When Marcus Peters was doing all that shit with the Chiefs, wilding basically, but Mans was pick sixing dudes on left and right. I was like, yo, if this dude played for Baltimore, bro, this dude will be nasty. And then he went to the Rams, and I was like, oh yeah, this dude's never leaving the Rams. Like, why would you leave the Rams? Do you see that stadium? But then when I heard the Rams was getting Jalen Ramsey, and I was like, oh, is they going to keep both of them? And then I wake up one day and they say we got Marcus Peters. And I'm like, there's no way we just got this man. So prayers up to Juice, man. That's a horrific injury, bro. Because he's one of the top 5 corners in the game. It's no argument that can be made against that. I think he lead the league in interception pick sixes since he's gotten into the league. That's insane. Like, Marcus Juice, man, is different. But you definitely got to remember that we was missing both of those guys this game. That hurts. That definitely hurts because I love Deshaun Elliott and I love Chuck Clark. But they still young, man. They still young. So they still learning too. Like Chuck Clark especially, he got thrown into the fire. Chuck Clark and Deshaun Elliott, really, when you think about it, got thrown into the fire. But both of them got thrown into the fire early, and they really still learning on the fly. And I think Chuck Clark is absolute stud. Like, he dropped a one-handed interception that he should have got. The Ravens dropped a lot of picks in this game that made me realize why DBs are DBs and why receivers are receivers. Because our young cornerback who played the right side of the field, who was matched up against I can't even remember who he was matched up against all night. I can't even remember his name. That's why you got to have notes, ladies and gentlemen. I will be better next game, after Sunday night's game. But he was phenomenal. But he dropped the interception in the red zone also. It was still a great play, but he looked like he got some promise to him. But to me, the theme of the game in the second half, and especially the fourth quarter, was if you cannot get pressure on Derek Carr, he is going to take advantage. And the biggest problem... So that problem reared its head, but I do have to give the defense credit. They ended up getting a stop, I believe, and then Lamar Jackson fumbled the ball. So that is on Lamar Jackson. That was the one mistake that I say it can't happen. That was a mistake by Lamar that just can't happen. And it was a drive also that ended where Lamar could have hit a dude on the side, but I don't think he saw him. But maybe he did. No. It's not that he didn't see him. He threw the ball. It was a bad throw. Just a bad throw. And that killed the drive. So if you want to put a lot of emphasis on that drive, I mean, I guess you could, but I don't think that drive was really as killer for simply what happened after that. But, I mean, in the sense of every play matters, I guess that play did matter. But the following drive, or a couple drives later, I would say, all of this in the fourth quarter, Lamar fumbled the ball. That can't happen. It just cannot happen. And that led to 7 points. They ended up scoring on a Darren Waller touchdown across the middle where he just breaks a tackle, spins out, and reaches out for a touchdown. And you just like, bro, tackle this guy, bro. And it was Patrick Queen. He missed the tackle, and I love Patrick Queen. I think he's still learning also. The reason I have to learn to be patient with Patrick Queen is because I have this little fault of mine where I like to compare him to C.J. Mosley and how great C.J. Mosley was off the bat. But I have to remember C.J. Mosley had Ed Reed and Actually, I don't think he had Ed Reed. He had Terrell Suggs as one of his mentors to teach him the ways and things like that, and Daryl Smith. So I have to remember that, yo, C.J. Mosley had a lot of studs around him to help him learn the game and be advanced and all those type of things. I mean, he also went to Alabama, Roll Tide, but it's a couple plays that I think Patrick Queen, he gonna look in the game and be like, okay, I got to be better right there. Okay, well, I got to be better right there. Also, Tavon Young. A lot of plays where guys get caught looking instead of reacting, or looking instead of attacking. That's a better word. Because usually when guys are looking and then reacting, a bad play happens. Like they give up too many yards or something like that. Especially on those plays where a quarterback throws an out route to the or a screen route to a receiver screen, and the guys know that's coming, but instead of just attacking him, they watch him do a little move before trying to pursue him. And then you see those guys that just absolutely like they shot out of cannons and they just shoot at them as soon as the ball touches their hands. We got into a problem with that a little bit. Tavon Young got beat on a route by Hunter Renfrow because instead of attacking, he was reacting and looking. So that was also a problem. But I also think that's something that happens when you fatigued also, because you don't want to get ran past, so you don't press up and stuff like that. Either way, you have to play Darren Waller better. Like, it just can't happen when you know that's the guy that they going to. You know that's their biggest threat. You know that's their best threat. It just can't happen. So that I had a problem with how we played Darren Waller all night. But like I said, for the most part, they really didn't let him get loose. But that's back to my point where I say if they didn't let him get loose when it didn't matter, and they did when it mattered, how good were we really defensively? Because they started giving up big plays to him, Henry, Ruggs. I think they had a big play that got called back because of a play on the Raiders. But then, so we're getting down to the end of the game. The Baltimore Ravens get the ball back after the Raiders score on that touchdown, and Lamar Jackson leads them all the way down the field and gets them a field goal. Now, this is the biggest thing on this drive that I had a problem with, because I didn't really have a problem with the drive. I had a problem with one of the things that happened on the drive. As we getting down to the and this drive right here could kill like the entire like game. We could get this bad boy all the way down to 0 if we pick up a first down on this thing, because they was making the Raiders kill timeouts, right, by running the ball. My problem is, why didn't we get more creative with those runs? Like, I don't have a problem with trying to run that clock, but why did we get like one of the most creative run systems in the league, and Greg Roman just lost his creativity, and I didn't understand that. And so then, if I'm not mistaken, it was a play on that drive that happened that if we had oh yes, so it was our running back Williams. He picked up a first down on a phenomenal play actually. That was the one play that was actually pretty creative, and he picked up the first down, but a holding call got called on a tight end, and he had blocked. And my problem with that was, I don't think that was holding. Like, the running back ran towards that tight end side, and you could clearly see him holding the dude up blocking. But because of how the running back ran, I guess it made the ref think it was a holding on the tight end, but it wasn't. It was a clean first down run by the running back, and it was a clean, it was a clean block. Like, he was standing them up, and they called holding on that, and that was so crazy to me. Like, that one was almost as crazy as the pass interference they called on Tavon Young in the middle of the field. Because that play saved the drive for the Raiders. And this play right here killed the drive for the Ravens. Because the next on this drive ended up being, it ended in a field goal for us. Because Lamar ended up picking 27 yards up on the next play, I believe, or towards the end. No, I think we punted on this drive. Either way, Lamar ended up getting us down the field, and we took a 3-point lead with less than 50 seconds left. And you're thinking to yourself, oh, I'm a Baltimore Ravens fan, right? I've been watching the Baltimore Ravens my whole life. The Baltimore Ravens defense not about to give up no 3 points or put these dudes in field position with less than 50 seconds left. Like, come on, young. We better than that. We pride ourselves on defense over here. Play like a Raven. We let these dudes get in field goal position in 2 plays, bruh. Not only did the Raiders not have any timeouts, because the Raiders didn't have a single timeout, But we let them get in field position in 2 plays, bruh, to kick the field goal. So just like that, a defense that you just would not expect to blow that like that, blows it. And so Lamar get the ball back. The kicker hit the field goal, tie game, 27-27. We going into overtime. The Raiders get the ball first. And I'm immediately thinking to myself, man, it's been a rough fourth quarter for this defense. Probably about to be a rough overtime. The Ravens haven't won an overtime game since 2015 against Pittsburgh. And the overtime loss that stands out in my head as we was going into that one was the one against the Titans last year. But Derrick Henry and A.J. Brown just embarrassed us, bro. Like, just embarrassed us, bro. And so I was already mentally prepared for that to happen again, because I don't know what it is about the Ravens defense. When they get exhausted, they just forget how to tackle for some reason. And so we letting them get up the field. We letting them march down the field. They ended up getting into Henry Ruggs made a huge catch across the middle for a lot, like 34 yards or something like that. And that got him in field goal range. That got him in the red zone, actually. So they end up getting on the 1 yard line, bro, I think, or the half yard line, because he reached out for the ball and they thought it was a touchdown. Everybody was on the field celebrating and walking off and dapping up and yada, yada, yada. But the review showed that he was short. As a Raven fan, I'm instantly thinking, oh, man, they just going to quarterback sneak it. This a dub. So even though I know they finna redo this play, like I know they got to come back on the field, I'm still thinking, they didn't have to because we're finna lose. Well, they don't get the quarterback sneak. And then after they don't get the quarterback sneak, they get a false start. So now they got to throw the ball. Even though you really probably didn't have to throw it, they probably could have still tried to run that with as bad as Baltimore's run defense was at certain times, and just off of previous history of watching Derrick Henry drag dudes in the end zone in overtime. But they decided to throw it. And that was the one mistake Derek Carr made all night. He ended up throwing a ball, and it really wasn't his fault because it bounced off of a dude, and it ended up getting picked off by the Ravens. Like a just absolutely miraculous play. And you just like, oh my God, there's no shot Lamar don't walk this team back down the field again and win the game this time without the defense being able to blow it. Well, that leads to another problem that happened over the overall night. And I know some people who watch the game thought I was going to forget about this. Nah. I was waiting for this part. See, I said earlier that Lamar had 2 turnovers, but that other one was the only one. His first fumble was the only one that I really cared about. Well, that's because he fumbled the ball in the overtime period, which led to a field goal ultimately by the Raiders that ended up... Well, no, it didn't even lead to a field goal. They ended up scoring on the defense because they lost the field goal kicker. They didn't have a timeout. The clock went all the way down. And instead of kicking the field goal, they wanted to get back in range. So the Ravens ran an all-out blitz and left a dude wide open running up the field for an easy touchdown once again. That ended the game. But before that happened, it was a turnover by Lamar who fumbled the ball. Now, I don't even know if he really fumbled the ball. I can't remember if they showed a replay or not on that fumble. They just, like, as soon as it looked, like, I thought maybe he was down, but maybe he wasn't. It didn't matter anyways. He fumbled that ball. But the offensive line was so bad. Matter of fact, before I even address the offensive line, because I know people thought I wasn't going to address the offensive line. Andrew Villanueva, I'm finna talk about him in a minute. Mark Andrews, bro. Name a better combination at the moment than dropped clutch catches and Mark Andrews, bro. Mark Andrews dropped a catch across the middle that was an easy catch that he should make 10 out of 10 times. He dropped that catch that would have kept the drive going, that would have kept chewing the clock, that would have ultimately put us in field goal position to win this game. Mark Andrews dropped that catch. Now, I know some people think like, oh, if you're a Baltimore Ravens fan, trust me, this feels all too familiar. Last year against Buffalo, people like to talk about Lamar throwing that interception that got returned. His first time throwing an interception in the red zone, and of course, it's a pick six. Do you remember the stuff that happened before he threw that pick? You remember that drop passes? You remember who dropped the pass that could have led to a touchdown? Mark Andrews. Last year against the Steelers, I can't remember if it was the first or second game. We lost both games. It was the first game because our backups played in that second game because everybody had COVID. In that first game against the Steelers, big play could have been made to win that game by Mark Andrews, or it was a big catch needed to be made by Mark Andrews. He dropped it. Against the Titans last year, he was great in the first half against them in the regular season. In the second half, go back and watch that game. Big catches that he dropped. Like, you could go through so many games of Mark Andrews dropping key clutch catches, bro. It just don't make no sense. And at this point, I feel bad for Lamar because he the one they gonna find a way to blame Lamar regardless. And Mark Andrews, nobody in the media tomorrow or whenever this video goes up, the next day after this game, I promise you, you probably won't hear a word about how Mark Andrews dropped the key catch on that drive. You won't hear a word. You just gonna hear about how Lamar Jackson fumbled that ball after the offensive line let him get absolutely eaten up again. And this is a problem. This is really becoming a problem now because after his MVP season where he made that line look way better than they probably actually were, now things have just gotten absolutely atrocious because Ronnie Staley, I'm going to give him a pass. He's clearly recovering. You got to give him time to get fully healthy. Andrew Villanueva was released by the Steelers for a reason, ladies and gentlemen. He was not re-signed by the Pittsburgh Steelers for a reason. That man was absolutely toast tonight, bro. I cannot remember a play, and if you can, please leave in the comments. Tell me. Name one play where Andrew Villanueva didn't get beat by Max Crosby, who's going to be a stud after this game. You're going to hear everybody talking about him. I don't play fantasy, don't know too much about it, but I guarantee you people going to be trying to pull him now. I don't know if he got stopped one time tonight. Like, he probably Lamar Jackson was pressured on 80% of his dropbacks I saw. And probably over 40% of that 80 was Max Crosby himself. Like, Villanueva got beat left and right. What they be saying? He got beat like a drumstick or something like that. Like, bruh got torched, bruh. And it made it very apparent why the Steelers got rid of him. It was bad, bro. Like, I'm telling you, I cannot remember one play where he didn't get, like, where bruhs didn't just run right past him. Like, it was bad. They're going to have to figure that out. They are going to have to figure that out. And if you listen to the broadcast, I don't usually watch the broadcast with noise because this broadcast team, I don't have a problem with Greasy and Reddick. It's Levy that's very irritating to me sometimes, most of the time. But I listened to this game. I looked at this game with sound on tonight. And the announcers kept talking about how Andrew Villanueva had problems with when guys get under his pads and things like that. And I'm like, God almighty, bro. Like, everybody probably talking about it. Like, I'm telling you, go look at the replays, bro, the highlights. This dude let Max Crosby just run. It felt like he was running untouched almost all night. And you just, as a quarterback, and credit to Lamar, I mean, he made so many top-notch plays. Like, he stepped up in the pocket, moved around in the pocket, avoided multiple sacks. Like, he legitimately did everything you could have wanted Lamar Jackson to do. But it's kind of like in Madden, where you know your quarterback been breaking too many sacks and been getting away with too many hits that he haven't fumbled, and eventually, bam, he fumbled it. That's kind of how this felt, because even on his absolutely magnificent touchdown where he made like 3 dudes miss and slung it to Hollywood in the back of the end zone, it's funny because it looked like it was a guy who was open, running towards the left flat that he never got to see because of the pressure. He broke loose of that and still threw a touchdown. And so you get used to Lamar doing stuff like that, and you're like, oh, he gonna do it all the time. So you don't really put too much emphasis or care really on that offensive line. But bro, he couldn't finish the game last year in the playoffs because he was concussed because of atrocious offensive line play. And it looked, to start the season, it was bad offensive line play. I don't know if anybody on the offensive line looked good tonight, aside from maybe the center, because I cannot remember too many times where pressure was just coming right up the middle. Like, for the most part, that was the only place for Lamar to step, was up front sometimes. And there was a lot of situations where Lamar had to try to throw the ball and he had to pull it back down. He was jumping and doing it sometimes. And offensive line has to be better. Like, it just has to be better. And that's what I'm saying when I say I feel like sometimes Baltimore is Baltimore v Lamar. Because it feels like sometimes it don't matter how great Lamar, it doesn't matter how great Lamar play. Something on Baltimore going to go bad enough for them to lose a game. You saw them lose games last year because of how atrocious the offensive line and center play was. And it felt like tonight, because you can't expect a quarterback to go out there and score on every single drive and be perfect. You just can't do that. Unless they're making glaring mistakes and bad plays, you can't just say, oh, a quarterback could have done this, or he should have done that, or he could have. You have to take the good with the bad and just look at the overall game at the end of the game and say, did he play good overall or did he play bad overall? Did he give his team a chance to win at the end of the game? Lamar gave his team a chance to win. I mean, like I said, you give up 2 plays to put him in field goal range to take the game to overtime. That's absolutely unacceptable from a Baltimore-led defense, especially. But bro, it's Lamar, in my opinion, did exactly enough, more than enough, in my opinion, sometimes to do what he needed to win this game. And there was even times where I felt like they was holding him back, where he could have ran, should have ran, probably would have ran, but maybe it was the critics getting in his head, maybe it was the team, I don't know. But it felt like they was holding him back at certain points in the game where we should have scored more. And that would be my only problem if you wanted to blame the offense. Because Lamar and that offense did leave points out there that could have been had, that Lamar-led offense usually would have made certain plays that they didn't make. So if you want to go to that, then I completely agree with you. Like, this offense could have been better than what it was tonight. I don't think they were atrocious because you got to think they missing J.K. Like, it was plays, like, for instance, the fourth down that I'm talking about where I felt like they should have called that play for Lamar. If Gus Edwards is in, that's a first down. I don't care if a dude broke through the line. Gus Edwards is getting that yard. And more than likely, he's getting more than that 1 yard. So you do have to remember that they are missing pieces that would be big time for them. I cannot use Rashad Bateman as one because I don't know what he would have been. I do think like he's going to be great when he plays, but I don't know what he would have been. And I mean, he could have played and had 0 catches for all I know. So I can't use him. I'm going to use a guy who I've seen be productive in our offense, which is J.K. Dobbins, who I do feel like at the end of the game, I felt like they needed J.K. At first, like I said, I didn't really feel like they were going to miss J.K. At the end of the game, I did feel like they missed him to an extent. Still not as much as they missed Gus Edwards, but they did miss J.K. to an extent because his elusivity and whatnot. But that running back they had tonight looked decent. He didn't look as great as probably J.K., but he did look fast. His first running touchdown was a magnificent running touchdown. Like, it was a great play. Made a dude mistake, kept his balance after the dude tried to get a shoestring tackle. But then again, Baltimore is probably, some people would say Baltimore is a running back factory, but I don't know. Running backs have great first years with Baltimore. I think the last running back that had multiple great years with Baltimore was Ray Rice. Forsett had 1 good year, wasn't really great after that. Ingram, who I absolutely love, probably my second favorite running back for Baltimore just because of the hype he brought back to the city. But he had a great first year, wasn't really great second. And Gus Edwards probably. He's been great every year for us. I mean, obviously he's not the number 1 running back for us. He hasn't had to do number 1 running back work, but in a sense, you really don't want to because, I mean, you look at Ezekiel Elliott right now, and Jesus Christ, bro, I want to hold on to hope that maybe it's just in 1 game or something, but Zeke haven't looked good in a minute, and that might be a product of the Cowboys consistently running their running backs to the ground. Like they did it to DeMarco Murray. It looked like they might have done that to Zeke, and they probably going to move on from him in a season. Man, that's bad. I'm glad Baltimore doesn't do that to their running backs. But like I said, man, this was a winnable game. It was a great game, honestly, for both sides. Obviously, I'm a Raven fan, so I was irritated on the Ravens' mistakes. But if you're a Raider fan, what I will say about the Raiders is felt like they were in the game the entire time, like the fans. The crowd seemed like they were into it the entire time. Like they never felt like they thought their team had no chance of winning. And that's dope. When you got a fan base that feels like you in the game the entire time, that juiced the crowd. I hate it when fans boo their team and stuff. It was one part of the game tonight where they booed, but I don't think they was booing the team as much as they was booing the call where they was backed up in the end zone and they called a run play instead of taking a shot, which they probably would have succeeded at, seeing as how they had a lot of success doing that tonight. But like I said, the Raiders ended up winning it in overtime after the fumble by Lamar. They were going to go for the field goal, ended up running out of time, backed them up. Instead of going forward, they tried to get back in position, but ended up getting an all-out blitz call. They're probably going to call like a short screen or something, but dude splits wide open up the field, and that's the game. Like I said, it was a great game. Derek Carr was absolutely unbelievable. If you're a Raider fan listening to this, bro, the Raiders looked great tonight. Like, the defense looked better. The Raiders usually let people throw all over them. They weren't absolutely phenomenal in the passing game, but they made the stops that they had to make. And whether it be mistakes made by Lamar in the offense, they had to be caused by somebody. You don't just make mistakes by yourself. It was either crowd noise from the Raiders or the defensive players or play calls by the Raiders. Either way, I give the Raiders all the credit in the world. I'm not finna sit here and hate on the Raiders. Like I said, I absolutely love Derek Carr. I think he's a stud. Darren Waller played for us. I'm absolutely ecstatic to see Derek Carr had it. Darren Waller have the success that he's having. Absolutely happy for him. Think he's an absolute stud. I would take Kelsey before every other tight end in the NFL, but I'm telling you right now, Darren Waller is the second, like, my next pick. Like, I would take him over Kittle because I believe Kittle's best asset is blocking, whereas the different dimensions in the passing game that Kelsey and Darren Waller bring is absolutely unbelievable. And to be completely honest with you, I think he was targeted double-digit times, and he didn't even. If he catches over half, 75%, let's say, if he catches 70 to 85% of those targets, he might have had 200 yards tonight. If he didn't have 200 yards, like so, I think if you're a Raven fan, you don't need. Obviously, we don't need to panic because you have Lamar Jackson as your quarterback. That's for one. We have Marmar. And so I would say defense, obviously, it showed we are missing LJ Fort. Jesus Christ. We definitely was missing LJ Fort tonight. Some people might not know who LJ Fort is. He is an underrated linebacker. He is an absolute stud for Baltimore. Absolute stud. We needed LJ Fort tonight running the middle with Patrick Queen. Malik Harris probably going to be a stud, but it was not. He didn't, to me, make the difference that Fort would have made. So I think he was also a key piece. He, Gus, and to an extent, J.K., and Marcus Peters to a big extent. Those three and J.K., like I said, to an extent, missed. Because Gus on those short downs, the Gus bus would have ran wild. Marcus Peters, just on the fact that Marcus Peters is Marcus Peters, any defense that loses Marcus Peters, unless you got a Jalen Ramsey to replace him, yeah, you're gonna take a shot. And LJ Fort. And so what I think after the game, this is what I say. My final thoughts on the game, if you will. We're gonna have this broken down better because there's been a lot of rambling. I think it's been focus based, but I'm gonna have this broken down in segments, and we're gonna be a lot better in the future, bro. A lot better. But in conclusion, on my final predictions, my final thoughts and things like that of the game. So, not sure who the Raiders play next week. Like I said, I'm not a Raiders fan per se, so I don't keep track of the schedule. But the end with the Raiders conversation, I wish the Raiders nothing but success the rest of the season. Like I said, love Derek Carr and Darren Waller. Big John Gruden fan. Listen, I grew up with John Gruden as the guy running Monday Night Football, and it has not been the same since he left it. I absolutely love John Gruden. Don't care what anybody else feels about him. I like John Gruden. I feel like John Gruden has helped Derek Carr become a better quarterback. He looks more sophisticated, I love John Gruden and those other two. So I wish Raiders and Raiders fan nothing but success the rest of the season. I hope you get. It's gonna be tough, tough division, but like I said, you guys can get it done. That defense looks much improved. The offensive line looks flawless, like absolutely unbelievable. They might even think about cutting or trading Richie Incognito. Maybe the Ravens should go out and make a trade for Richie Incognito because it didn't look like the Raiders needed him tonight. Derek Carr was sacked 3 times, and to be completely honest with you, I told you away he was one of the sacks where it was just the secondary was covered so great for so long he finally got there. I couldn't even tell you the other 2 sacks. I cannot tell you the other 2 sacks. Couldn't remember them. Oh, actually, I do remember one of them. Justin Houston got there. He didn't finish the sack, but another guy came in and finished it. But I don't even remember the third one. Either way, for the most part, it was an absolute perfect game for that offensive line. Derek Carr going to be singing a praise after the game if he hasn't already. So like I said, hope the Raiders have nothing but success the rest of the season. For my Ravens, however, it's just one game. Like Aaron Rodgers say, relax. We're going to be fine. We going to be fine. The things about this first game, man, obviously Lamar, clearly a preseason would have helped. A preseason game where they could have got better. But you can't be mad at the Ravens for not putting guys out there in the preseason after all the injuries that they sustained. But a preseason probably would have helped this offense a little bit. But the thing that I know about Lamar is he going to get us up and down that field and he going to score. Games like this are going to be very rare, where Lamar and that offense don't consistently get up and down the field. And when you're playing with a new running back set, basically, and I think Le'Veon Bell is going to work wonders for this team in the passing game, because he going to give Lamar a guy he can have as a check down who going to do shit with the ball. But the offensive line have to be better. I'm almost certain John Harbaugh going to address that. I'm not the biggest Greg Roman fan, but I'm not finna shit on Greg Roman because, like I said, I thought that it was a decent to above average game call for Greg Roman. Like, I really don't think he called that bad of a game, if that at all. I think it was a pretty decent game, to be completely honest with you. But the Ravens have to improve on situational defense, situational play calling, which they're usually pretty good at, but situational play calling, situational defense. The one thing that the Ravens been doing a lot the last 2 years is penalties and flags. Just so many big plays and stops that are negated by bad penalties and stuff, man. They have to get better at that. Like, I'm telling you, it felt like at one point, Baltimore, John Harbaugh, and Belichick-led teams just didn't commit penalties. But over the last 2 years, Jesus Christ, it feel like both teams done got undisciplined. But I feel like they're going to get that under control. The defense to me is big, and almost to a certain extent, it feel like the penalties and stuff might be as big as the defense, because you can't have so many big stops and just have them negated, or so many big gains and have them negated by bad, absolutely atrocious plays on flags and stuff like that. Like I said, I didn't agree with 2 of them that happened tonight, but other than that, all the other ones were probably warranted. The ones that I'm saying ain't warranted was probably warranted at this point, but the Ravens don't have anything to worry about. The Browns and the Bengals did win, and I think the Bengals are going to be a good team off of the defense. Off of that offense alone. And who knows, that defense probably going to be great too, because Jesse Bates is a stud. But I think the Steelers are going to be the Steelers. Steelers are a great team every year, in my opinion. Even when they're not, you still have to worry about them. And the Browns is the Browns is the Browns is the Browns. You're not about to hear me say anything good about the Browns. It is what it is. The Browns is the Browns is the Browns. You can hate that all you want. I don't care. But the Ravens have nothing to worry about, man. We're going to be straight, man. We get those things figured out, man. It's the beginning of the season, man. Like Aaron Rodgers said, just relax. We got one of the best quarterbacks, top 5 quarterback in the NFL, Lamar Jackson, man. We will be fine. So, with that, I appreciate you guys clicking on this video. I appreciate you tuning in, just taking some time out of your night or day to listen to this random dude ramble on about the Baltimore Ravens. Who is this guy? Listen, I appreciate you. Hey, and listen, if we get big and we blow up, because my dream is to get on the Pat McAfee show and talk to Pat about some of these sport topics. You know what I'm saying? And it's not really a dream as much as it's one of the things I wanted to knock off of my bucket list. But my biggest dream is to be on this platform, be able to talk about sports, just discuss sports, not in a debate type of way necessarily. I'm not into the clickbait and stuff like that and saying just nonsensical things to get clicks. I'm not into that, or for the views. I just want to break down Baltimore Raven football games and other teams of that nature and whatnot. And you know what I'm saying? Just, you could light up a blunt, take a sip or something, just sit back and relax. And if you didn't watch the game, hell, even if you did watch the game, you get to hear from somebody else's perspective, another Baltimore fan, Raven fan's perspective. So, with that being said, like I said, I appreciate you tuning in. I appreciate you clicking the video. And if you stayed and listened to the entire video and you got down to this moment, I appreciate that. That's love. That's love. Saying out.